Na mataan sa 1,000 kilometers east ng Mindanao. Maghahatid ang naturang LPA ng kalat-kalat na pag-ulan sa buong Mindanao. At yan ang mga balita sa oras na ito. Magbabalik pa ang Eagle News Update mamayang alas 11. Mula sa Eagle News Service, ako si Phoebe Publico and I'm 1 with 25.
We live in interesting times. Today's stories. The United Nations Security Council meets over Yemen crisis. A UN envoy says robust monitoring regime is urgently needed in Yemen. The World Food Programme says Yemen ceasefire deal, good start, but not enough. On the Korean border, a former U.S. Army facility is converted into a tourist attraction. The U.S. and Canada meet amid the standoff with China. Plus, SPIF's 44th Annual International Folk Fair celebrates cultural diversity. Hello everyone, I am Rose Papa Angeles, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Speaking through video conference at the UN Security Council, UN Special Envoy Martin Griffiths announces that the warring parties in Yemen have agreed to a ceasefire at the strategic Hodeidah port during talks in Sweden. Members of the Security Council commend the progress made at the UN-brokered talks, but continue to stress the urgent need to resolve what some are calling the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
What are they? Firstly, and most dramatically, the parties have agreed finally to end the battles in Hodeidah. This council has for months called for just such an agreement, and I believe we now have it.
A terrible tragedy is unfolding in Yemen, and it's getting worse. Millions of people are starving, sick, desperate. They have one message for the world: this war needs to stop.
The world's worst humanitarian crisis demands more than hope from the Security Council that peace will come to Yemen. It demands that we take action to hold all the warring parties accountable. It demands that we address the Iranian aggression at the root of the crisis.
UN Special Envoy Martin Griffiths on Friday urged the creation of a robust and competent monitoring regime in a war-ravaged Yemen, one day after fighting parties agreed to a ceasefire at a vital port.
A robust and competent monitoring regime is not just essential, it is also urgently needed. And both parties have told us they would very much welcome it and indeed depend upon it.
The World Food Programme says that they hope to be able to dispatch 51,000 tons of wheat to Yemen after a ceasefire was agreed between warring parties for the vital Hodeidah port. The WFP said the deal was a good start, but not enough.
With the conflict intensifying over the recent weeks, we have seen a decrease of 50% in shipments into Hodeidah port as private shipping company were reluctant to use the port for security reasons. We also hope then that it will change. You know that we don't have access to those facilities since September. We hope that thanks to the agreement, we will have access very soon to those facilities and we will be able to dispatch those 51,000 tons of wheat to assist 3.7 million people. This deal is not enough. It's a good start. That's why we look forward the end of January or later when the second round of discussions will take place under the Special Envoy leadership, and we hope that other similar agreement could be reached in other parts of the country.
Coming up, on the Korean border, a former U.S. Army facility is converted into a tourist attraction. The U.S. and Canada meet amid the standoff with China. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria Marikio, and today I'm here at Haystack Rock in Oregon. So this famous rock formation is a great place to witness sunrise and sunsets. You can set up a picnic blanket and hang out with your friends or family here at the beach. For more stuff like this, tune in to EBC Digital Nest. I'm Rio, and I'm 1 with 25.
Eagle News teams are fair.
Sa impeachment complaint laban kay Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, ang ilang
Ang
maestra
rekomendasyon na makasuhan ang mga sangkot kasama na ang mga opisyal ng customs.
Hardworking.
Papaunlad ng isang bata na magiging isang future youth leaders.
Dedicated.
Sa nasawi ay dito natagpuan yung bangkay.
Ito yung kanilang paraan ng pag-aalaga ng mga may sakit na leprosy noong unang panahon.
Committed to public service.
Ang chairmanship ng ASEAN sa bansang Singapore.
Marami yung mga biktima ng mga nawawala.
Ang ng Bureau of Customs na nasa merkado na yung mga pinaking produkto.
Sa kapila ng mga kilos protesta na nanatiling
dahil sa
payapa.
mabilis na pagresponde ng mga pamatay sunog, ang apoy mabilis na
Karoon ng equal opportunity ang ibang mga kababaihan.
ng mga kabataan at ipinakita sa pamagitan ng kanilang mga likha.
nanatiling kulang pa rin ang tubig para sa irigasyon, para sa pagtatanim ng ating mga kababayang magsasaka.
As we live in interesting times.
ASEAN in Focus, Monday to Friday, 2 to 2:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Camp Greaves, a former U.S. Army facility within the buffer zone that runs alongside the demilitarized zone which divides the two Koreas, has been converted into an arts center and tourist attraction. American forces moved out of Camp Greaves in 2004 in one of the first steps of a wide-ranging plan to relocate many of the U.S. units stationed in South Korea to Camp Humphreys, south of the capital, Seoul. The transfers have now largely been completed, leaving a host of former bases in the hands of South Korean local authorities. The most prominent is the Yongsan base in the center of Seoul, which is set to become a public park. At Camp Greaves, north of Seoul, Gyeonggi Province is attempting to cash in on the steady stream of DMZ tourism nearby. The armories turned art spaces are just one of its attractions. The former officers' mess has been converted into a youth hostel. The hugely popular 2016 South Korean television drama Descendants of the Sun was partly filmed at the site, and it offers fans the chance to take selfies in front of key scenes backdrops.
요즘 같은 경우에 어쨌든 남북관계가 좋아짐에 따라서 평화 쪽으로 교육을 온다던가 하는 분들의 이제 수요가 좀 많아진 건 사실이고요. 저희 같은 경우 지금 유스 호스텔로 이용하고 있지만 전시 공간으로도 활용을 하고 있어요. 그래서 다른 데도 문화 쪽 문화 콘텐츠로는 상당히 저는 긍정적으로 보고 있어요.
그래서 그런 것들이 다 시민들의 품으로 다시 돌아오게 되는 거죠. 그래서 시민들이 다 이용을 하게 되고 그러면서 좀 더 우리 시민이 살아가면서 그 마음의 여유를 가질 수 있는 그런 공간이 되는 거죠. 그래서 그런 부분도 참 좋은 것 같습니다.
The United States and Canada met for high-level talks amid a showdown with China, which has voiced fury over the arrest of an executive in Vancouver on a U.S. request. The meeting comes as Canada looks like collateral damage in the U.S.-China rift, with Beijing detaining 2 Canadians yet still moving forward with the United States on easing trade tensions. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo opened the previously scheduled dialogue in Washington with Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland alongside U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis and his Canadian counterpart Harjit Sajjan. China has demanded the release of Meng Wanzhou, the chief financial officer of telecom's behemoth Huawei, whom Washington wants extradited for allegedly violating U.S. sanctions on Iran. Pompeo is seeking to squeeze Iran's economy over the Islamic Republic's involvement around the Middle East and has vowed to press all countries, friend or rival, to join. Canada complied with the request from its giant neighbor to arrest Meng, who was changing planes in Vancouver despite worries of repercussions. The fears turned out to be well-founded as China has detained 2 Canadians on suspicion of harm to national security, a phrase often used by Beijing when alleging espionage. The Canadians were Michael Spavor, a China-based consultant who arranges visits for foreigners including NBA star Dennis Rodman to North Korea, and Michael Kovrig, a Mandarin-speaking former Canadian diplomat who works for the International Crisis Group, a think tank that looks for a peaceful solution to global conflicts. Freeland has said that Canada is working to ascertain the 2 citizens' whereabouts and is raising their cases with Chinese authorities. Mang is out on bail of 10 million Canadian dollars or 7.5 million US dollars. When we come back, SPIF's 44th Annual International Folk Fair celebrates cultural diversity. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
As Eagle Broadcasting Corporation marks its 50th year, it is conducting several activities under the theme EBC Cares, enabling a better community. Health and nutrition are key factors on child's learning and well-being. EBC's feeding program encourages the community to combat malnutrition among children and ensure them a healthy future. EBC's cleanup drive and citronella planting hopes to help the community in caring for the environment and preventing diseases such as dengue. EBC's public service program, Paglilingkod sa Bayan, Serbisyo para sa Mamamayan, has opened its doors to government agencies so more people can avail of these services. EBC's blood donation program and medical mission continue to spearhead life-saving projects, and EBC's livelihood seminar teaches and guides those who want to have additional income and business. EBC Cares, serving the people in these interesting times. Know the latest news and information here and abroad. In Aguila, Balita, track the latest happenings in the provinces in Aguila, Provincia. Be aware of important events in Asia, in ASEAN in Focus, and be updated in the biggest news around the world in Eagle News International. Tune into Mata ng Aguila and get the day's headlines and news that are sharp, accurate, and objective. Only here at Net 25.
ASEAN in Focus, Monday to Friday, 2 to 2:30 p.m.
This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. I am Rose Papa Angeles. SPIF's annual International Folk Fair turns 44, celebrating Tampa Bay's cultural diversity. Eagle News correspondent Abby Aragon takes us to St. Petersburg, Florida for this multi-ethnic event. Take a look.
Did you know that the jersey number 44 of the Atlanta Braves and Milwaukee Brewers was retired in honor of Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Hank Aaron? It is also the code for international direct dial phone calls to the United Kingdom. This number holds a special place in St. Pete, Florida, as the St. Petersburg International Folk Fair Society celebrates 44 years of diversity. Let's check it out. The St. Petersburg International Folk Fair Society, or SPIFS, continue to display various works of all cultures and backgrounds in this yearly folk fair. It allows people to participate and showcase the best of their ethnic background.
To show the diversity of the community is very important, and to show that this is what the community, that our area here is really made up of. It's not just one type of people, we're all different but all together and all the same. So we are celebrating diversity, and we want all the people to get together and enjoy each other and learn from each other. We're always trying to improve, to show more and more of whatever we can. And you know, we're showing the old culture, like we still want to show that we are in the modern times, we're using more digital things, we're showing more technology, and so on.
Attendees were treated to delicious ethnic food and various forms of ethnic entertainment. Most people have been coming for many years, but some have come for their first time.
I've been doing this show almost 25 years. I've been coming here. I'm coming here because people like my product, like my stuff. I make a little money, go back to Chicago. Yeah.
The SPIFs will continue on with the folk fair with hopes to improve every year. Signing off from St. Petersburg, Florida, I'm Abby Aragon, and I'm 1 with 25.
Thanks, Abby. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I am Rose Papa Angeles, and I am 1 with 25.